The midday sun was scorching the pavement when the world decided to notice a man nobody ever looked at. Cars were rushing, people were shouting, and traffic horns filled the air. Yet none of the noise could drown out the scream of a little girl stranded on the median of a four-lane road while a speeding truck barreled toward her. And the man who ran toward danger wasn't a hero or a police officer or anyone people expected. He was a homeless single father named Riven, exhausted, hungry, carrying the weight of survival on his shoulders, but when he heard the scream, he didn't hesitate. He sprinted, risking the only thing he had left, his life. And what happened after that rescue was something no one on that street could ever forget. If you believe in kindness, humanity, and second chances, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Touch of Kindness. Your support helps these stories reach more hearts. Riven hadn't always been homeless. Once, he had a small apartment, a job at a repair shop, and a tiny world built around his 4-year-old son, Aaron. But life, unpredictable and merciless, changed everything in a single month. When the workshop shut down without warning and the hospital bills for Aaron's asthma worsened, Riven found himself drowning in debt. With no family to turn to and no savings left, he was eventually evicted. The streets swallowed him and his child without mercy. For 2 months they lived under a half-collapsed pedestrian bridge, surviving on bread Riven managed to buy from day labor wages and small kindnesses from strangers. Yet Riven never allowed Aaron to see despair in his eyes. He hid the hunger, the worry, the shame. Every night he whispered stories of hope, promising his son that someday life would get better. He believed it, or at least he forced himself to. That particular afternoon, Riven was pushing a cart of discarded cardboard he planned to sell when he heard the scream. His instinct surged, drowning out fear as he dropped everything and ran. The girl couldn't have been older than 8. She'd chased a runaway balloon into the road. Now she was paralyzed in terror, unable to move as the massive truck thundered forward, brakes screeching but not enough to stop in time. Riven lunged, grabbed her small body and threw them both towards safety. The truck grazed his leg and sent him crashing onto the concrete. Pain shot through him, but the girl was safe, crying, shocked but alive and unhurt. The crowd that had watched everything rushed toward them. Phones appeared, people shouted, and for the first time in months, someone truly saw Riven, not as a homeless man, not as a burden, but as a hero. A woman ran through the crowd, her face pale with panic and relief. She dropped to her knees and pulled the girl into her arms. "Maylee, oh my God, are you okay?" She sobbed, then turned to Riven with trembling gratitude. "You saved my daughter. You saved her." Riven tried to stand but winced from the pain radiating through his leg. He looked uncomfortable with all the attention and muttered, "Just glad she's okay." But the woman, Dr. Kiara Vance, a pediatric surgeon, noticed more than his injury. She noticed the thinness in his face, the threadbare shirt, the exhaustion held behind humble eyes. Still shaken, she helped him sit on a bench, insisting on checking his injury. When she heard the soft cough of little Aaron, who had run from their makeshift shelter to find his father, her heart tightened. The boy clung to Riven's arm, afraid and confused, but trusting his father completely. Kiara asked questions gently, listening as Riven, with embarrassment, explained their situation. She saw the love in his eyes, the resilience in his posture, and the painful truth of a man doing everything he could for his child, despite the world turning its back on him. The crowd eventually dispersed, but Kiara didn't leave. She looked at Riven with a seriousness that made him uneasy. Then, in a voice both firm and warm, she said, "You and your son are coming with me. At least for now. You need help, and you deserve it." Riven shook his head immediately. "I don't want to be a burden." "You're not," she said with conviction. "You saved my child. Let me help you save yours." Aaron tugged his father's sleeve, eyes wide with hope, and Riven's resistance finally broke. He nodded. Kiara brought them to her home, a modest but beautiful house filled with light and soft colors. The moment they stepped inside, Aaron's eyes sparkled as if he'd stepped into a dream. Kiara led them to the guest room and insisted Riven rest while she evaluated his leg. It was bruised but not fractured. She also listened carefully to Aaron's breathing. The child's asthma was clearly worsening without proper medication. Within an hour, she used her medical connections to arrange an immediate appointment for Aaron. She drove them there herself, holding the child's hand as if he were her own. The doctors provided inhalers, medication, and scheduled a full treatment plan. Riven watched in stunned silence, overwhelmed by a kindness he did nothing to earn, except risk his life for a child. That night, Kiara cooked for them. Riven watched Aaron laugh for the first time in weeks, playing with Maylee, who had pulled out her favorite toys for him. The sight hit him like a wave. His son finally being a child again instead of a survivor days turned to weeks. Kiara refused to let them return to the streets. She helped Riven replace his worn clothes, arranged therapy for Aaron's breathing, and introduced Riven to a community center director who immediately saw his potential and offered him a job assisting with equipment repairs. Riven worked with dedication, grateful beyond words, and gradually became a valued part of the center. The transformation was slow but beautiful. Aaron grew healthier, his cheeks filling with color, his smile appearing more often. Riven gained confidence again, his posture straightening as he rebuilt the life he thought he'd lost forever. Kiara checked on them every day. Sometimes she'd bring food. Sometimes they'd all sit on the porch talking about life. Sometimes Maylee would fall asleep leaning on Riven's arm while Aaron drew superheroes with Kiara. Riven often wondered why Kiara did so much for them. She had no obligation, no debt, no reason. One evening, Kiara answered that unspoken question. "My daughter was alive because of you," she said. "But it's more than that. When I saw you run into that road, I realized how many people we walk past every day without really seeing. You reminded me that compassion isn't something to feel. It's something to do." Riven couldn't speak. Tears rolled silently down his face. Kiara didn't look away. With her encouragement, Riven eventually found stable housing through a community program she sponsored. It wasn't fancy, but it was safe, warm, and theirs. He furnished Aaron's room first, tiny superhero posters, a small bed, a second-hand desk. When Aaron ran into his room and hugged him tightly, Riven felt a pride he hadn't felt in years. But the most unbelievable part of the journey came 3 months after the rescue. Kiara invited Riven and Aaron to a community event at the center. When they arrived, Riven was shocked to see his name on a large banner that read, "Honoring Everyday Heroes." The director handed him a certificate, and Kiara stepped onto the stage with Maylee. She told the audience the entire story, from the runaway balloon to the life-changing impact Riven had made not just on her family but on the entire community. She spoke with warmth, respect, and admiration. Then she did something that left Riven breathless. She announced a new program in his name, the Riven Hail Fund for Families in Crisis, a fund dedicated to helping homeless parents get shelter, medical support, and job assistance, just as Riven once needed. The crowd applauded. Aaron hugged his father tightly. Riven blinked. Through tears, overwhelmed beyond measure. This was more than gratitude, more than kindness. This was transformation. His pain turned into purpose, his struggle turned into hope for countless others. Kiara approached him privately afterward, smiling softly. "This started because you ran into the road to save one child," she whispered. "Now you'll help save many more. You didn't just rescue Maylee, Riven, you rescued yourself, and you're giving others a chance to do the same." Riven held her hand tightly, unable to speak. For the first time in years, he felt something powerful and warm, a belief that life could still be good. That second chances existed. That kindness, when given freely, had the power to rewrite destinies. The sun dipped behind the buildings as they all stood outside, watching Aaron and Maylee play together on the grass. Riven looked at Kiara with gratitude so deep it felt sacred. His journey had been painful, harsh, unforgiving, but it led him to this moment, a moment where he wasn't invisible anymore, where he wasn't broken, where he was seen, valued, and loved by a community that believed in him, and all because he chose to run toward a scream on a hot afternoon. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Touch of Kindness. Your support helps us bring more real, emotional, and inspiring stories to life. Before you go, comment below, "Kindness changes lives,"